All right, so today we're going to be going over feedback mechanisms and stimulus response, which you should have started learning about in your Wednesday assignment. So before you watch this video and continue on with today's assignment, you should make sure that you've completed that assignment. So that's called 4-7 Feedback Mechanisms Inquiry Part 1 on Google Classroom, and it looks like this right here. Once you have done that, then you can go ahead and continue watching this, and we're going to go over some of the main concepts from that assignment. Our learning targets today are I can identify the stimulus and the response in different scenarios and whether those are positive or negative feedback loops. And our social is I can get adjusted to our new schedule. So, many of you had questions about this word stimulus when you were doing this assignment. So a stimulus is an event that causes a reaction. An example of this would be a person putting their hand on a hot burner or something that's hot and then immediately pulling their hand away because it hurt them. A response is a reaction that is caused by a certain stimulus. So in this example, the stimulus is that the person is touching something hot, and the response is that they pull away. In general, a stimulus always causes the response. So the stimulus comes first, and then the response is the reaction to whatever that stimulus was. This is the part that I think tripped a lot of us up when we were doing this assignment, the word stimulus check. So I saw a lot of answers like this for what is a stimulus. A lot of you wrote something like stimulus check or compensation or from the government. And that is one way that we can use this word stimulus in more recent times. And a stimulus check is when the government gives out money because they want people to spend money, because people spending money improves the economy. So when there's been a stimulus and then a response, one of two things can happen. The first thing that could happen is called a negative feedback loop. And in a negative feedback loop, the response to the stimulus causes the opposite of the stimulus to happen. So for example, let's think about the example on my screen here. So in this example, a person's body temperature decreases on a cold day. So think about if you were to go outside in the middle of winter without a coat on, you would start getting cold, and so your temperature would decrease. In response, your response to that stimulus is going to be to start shivering. This shivering action causes your body temperature to then increase back up a little bit. So this body temperature increase is the opposite of the stimulus that started this whole feedback loop that was your body temperature decreasing. So when the response causes the opposite of the stimulus to happen, that is called a negative feedback loop. On the other hand, there are things called positive feedback loops, which are when the response to the stimulus causes more of that stimulus to happen. So an example for this would be when there are more people born. So when the birth rate increases, there's more people being born every day. Eventually, that will cause an increase in the number of possible parents because there are more people in the world. And then when there is an increase in the number of possible parents, that will cause more people to be born, as long as there are not limiting factors stopping that. So in this case, in a positive feedback loop, this response is causing more of these stimulus to happen. So it's not the opposite. It's not less people being born. It's the same thing as what caused this response in the first place.